All right, folks. So we are going to start cluster eventing discussion in another couple of minutes' time.
You said you recorded the yesterday?
Yeah.
This morning you recorded this article? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know when those are going to be available or send out the blue jeans link for it?
I have already shared the Google Hangout links, which I have already recorded.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did in Devil list. Mailing list. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can also forwarded it to
email storage PNG also.
Okay, thank you.
Do I need to plug this in?
There's 2 email lists that I did not read today. I looked at plugins for Go. There's another project that deals with
Something should be
I don't know. Anyway, it's another project needed plugins. And so what they do is that they have a whole framework for Go. And what they do is that you have your own program that they're all serviced, and then you build this little all the processes and they communicate to RPC. This is the main one, and that's how
Is
it
it Packer?
Packer, yeah, Packer.
We've been looking at, I think Kaushal has been spending some time understanding how this project is doing.
Yeah. So
But it's a little, like you were saying, circuitous in the sense that we need to do RPC.
that's right.
It's
Which is
really
what I'm saying is that
It's not
you either have to
detected.
support the
This
framework
is not detected.
when you bring them in. Now, in their model, their framework is only for them. But it doesn't mean you have to do that with protocol buffers.
Can you start inside? You don't have the model.
It's an idea.
Huh?
When I was previous job, I did the same thing, but I did it with debugs.
Numbers I do that, but I don't.
So I would have the main process called the debugs, and then I have the other process send an event to the main debug saying, "I'm here, look at me," and then we'll come back and say, "Show me your exported."
He just tried to take
And then
Arthur's
we'll
laptop and
get back to
start
work.
it.
That way with debugs, you can come in and out really nicely. So it's another way to do it. Thanks. Yeah.
87510. Toll free number.
Welcome to New James.
I don't have the toll free number.
Using your remote control, please enter the Meet ID followed by # or #.
875 10 28 909.
The camera.
This is sure. Okay. That is one thing. Yeah.
What? How can you share the presentation?
Blue jeans?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll come up there if you connect to the blue jeans.
Welcome to Blue Jays.
Just go to your link and click on share. You don't need to be on the project for that. You don't need to be on that. For sharing it on Blue Jeans.
Yeah,
You don't need to do that. I did it.
It always works, but it's not working now.
Oh.
It's showing two minus.
It's 875 10 28
Disconnect the
909.
disconnect the cable. You have to take the cable off.
Yeah, I took it.
Take it off.
Yeah, took it.
Oh, okay.
You took it up off after connecting to this? No, I took it off. I can do this. Should I try and put in this?
Welcome to Blue Jean Conferencing. Please enter your meeting ID or pairing code, followed by the pound or hash sign.
875 10 28 909.
Right now you're sharing.
Oh,
Presentation will come, right? Yeah, it should come. Now they are going to disconnect to this.
10
No. Go someplace you want to share so that everyone can see, you know.
do they have the remote control itself? I think that should not be before.
Guys, we have some technical difficulties. Just pardon. We'll be right back after once we settle down these things.
Welcome to Blue Jeans. To connect to the meeting using your remote control, please enter the meeting ID, followed by pound or hash sign.
But you're not able to. How do you do this?
Sorry about that. You can't do it now, that means that you're on the right track.
How about
Shut down audio.
no, you send your presentation.
It's not about from my system or what, it's that.
No, I don't need blue jeans. I don't need blue jeans at all. See, this
thing is
code is
that
not
this-
detecting for his system.
Okay.
So I was telling like, you just send it to someone.
I'll give the PDF to someone and use his.
Yeah, but then that means we don't have inclusions recording.
No, that's fine. We are recording hangout, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, send it to me just a second.
It's at 45%.
Send it to all. Please send it. I just specs there.
But that doesn't turn that only makes it select on that.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
That only makes that one, that doesn't turn this on.
Oh, okay.
Go on, me. No, I will ready to download. Here comes.
Open the.
Oh, you said wait. Okay.
Wow.
Hopefully.
It's not projecting it though.
No, it won't project for another like 45 seconds.
Okay.
What do you want? Okay.
Damn, 20 minutes. Very good.
Just the PDF. Yeah, it is PDF. Because it's television was finished. I don't know. PDF, right? What's the presentation? Okay. You want full screen or? I mean, okay, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. You can still use this one.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's sharing English.
Seems like it's still not.
Ah,
Should be. It's up there. I see it.
yeah, it's. I think it's all.
See the red? Yeah.
Multiple points of failure.
Something going on here.
Go on.
That kind of noise. It's about to pour coffee any minute now.
Huh? I'm not able to see because of the space.
Okay.
Okay.
It will. See. Projector is started. Somebody camcorder. We use those. There's so many whiteboards in this room.
Yeah.
Shame that we're
These
not
mics
using.
are really cool.
What's that?
These mics are really cool.
The
Yeah,
mics?
they're good.
Oh. Really nice. I didn't even notice it. The moment I saw it, I thought it were light switches. Like,
I
Sure,
started
right?
with that, then I
Yeah,
saw this.
oh,
okay. It's still not shared.
No, I don't need blue jeans.
You want me?
yeah, but I
No.
that is what I'm saying. I think the system is hooked to that. It's not projecting from here. That is what I was saying. I'm doing what they were. I don't know if I'm use that.
Just disconnect.
Why don't we
Yeah,
go
yeah.
like there you
So that was the problem.
I don't know that either because that or it to touch it. Because it's not.
Okay, guys, we all set for the next discussion, which is on Gluster Eventing, that is storage deflag Gluster FS. Shamikshan will take us through some interesting features about it. So, what to Shamikshan now?
Ready to start? Yeah. So, I'll be talking about storage D and how storage D can provide an eventing framework for Gluster FS through dbus. So the idea is to make Gluster FS related events more available to interested applications, like on top of the logging feature that Gluster FS already has. So when we have been talking about this feature, we kept on asking ourselves what would be the list of events that we are targeting to be to be notified through dbus. So these are the lists that over a period of like a month we have come up, and these are requirements from some applications who want to use these dbus event notifications. So the first one is Gluster FS related process state changes. So this deals with changes like if the Gluster D service has started or stopped, or if the Gluster D service has failed or is being activated again, all that. The volume or break state changes like so whatever changes with respect to if volume has started or if a big process has started or it has gone down. So these things would be part of point 2. Volume creation, deletion events, then asynchronous task state changes. So async task state changes are tasks like volume rebalancing, uh, starting of volume rebalancing task, then brick removal or brick replacement tasks. So these will be part of async task state changes. Volume quota limit cross, that's self-explanatory. Whenever the volume quota limit will be crossed, there should be an event to interested applications saying that the volume quota limit has crossed, and it should also be that whenever this quota has come back to normal, that event should also be put across to interested applications. There are other events also that we will look into, like volume and split brain state, then self-heal related statistics and events, snapshot related events, georeplication related events, and tiring related events, like hot tiring and all that. So how to get these events on the debus? This to do this, what needs to be done is that we need to expose various components of Gluster FS on the debus, like components like volumes, bricks, the process, the services themselves. All these should be exposed on the debus as debus objects. And these device objects will be implementing interfaces which hold properties, and when these properties change or new objects are created or new objects or objects are removed, we send corresponding signals on the bus, and applications who are interested in these signals will be taking the necessary action. Another thing that we will be using for to get the Gluster FS related events is the system D debus API. So the system D debus API helps us to get service related state changes like Gluster debug service related state changes, and if other services are provided by Gluster, then we can track those in storage as well. I'll talk about some debus concepts, like so that the next slides are not don't feel like super superficial or something. So on the message, we have debus connections, and debus connections will have debus names. So we can have for debus names, we sometimes have well-known names. For example, applications like storage D and system D, they own well-known debus names on the bus, like org.storaged.storaged, and system D also has its own well-known connection. Debus objects and object paths, these are objects. So debus objects are entities on a message bus that represent something. So and these objects reside on object paths. So for example, over here, this /org storage D or slash, I forgot to get the slash org. So /org free desktop systemd1. These are object paths where storage objects, storage and systemd objects reside. And objects implement one or more debug interfaces. Debug interfaces hold will be holding properties, method calls, and signals. So applications can get information regarding objects through the properties. They can also get notifications for changes in properties of the device object through signals, and they can also make method calls to carry out particular tasks. So messages are of two kinds, like method, as I said, method calls and signals. Method calls are addressed to some object. A client will address a particular object and will tell that particular object to carry out a particular task. So that's a method call, and the application will be expecting a reply from that method call. Signals don't have any signals are not addressed to any particular application. So whenever there are some things happening on the device object front, signals are sent out on the bus to everyone who are there on the bus. So if I as an application, if I have an application who is interested in one particular kind of signal, I will be listening to that signal, and I can, when I receive that signal, I can take the necessary actions. For signals, we don't get any reply from the clients. When a particular client has received a signal and has taken necessary action on it, the object will not be getting a reply regarding that. So these are some basic device concepts. I'll move on to what storage D is. So storage.
Something to that on the generic bus, there's also the system bus.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's buses you create yourself.
Right.
Then you have to be. I just want to ask, because it doesn't define in what direction you're going, what bus you're going after.
Yeah. So there are session buses and there are system buses. So when you send a particular a method call, a particular message to any object, you have to mention that you are sending that message to the system bus or the session bus. I think in the later slide there is one particular example where I kind of show that.
Okay.
Yeah. So storage project has been swapped from the UDisks 2 project because there were some UDisks 2 was not supporting all the features with respect to storage. They were more interested in having their service limited to one particular desktop and not to cloud systems, and so it was needed that UDisks was forked, and storage project was originated, and storage does provide all the interfaces that originally belonged in UDisks, and on top of that, it adds more modules and features. The storage D project has this daemon called storage D itself, and this storage D daemon owns the bus connection name or storage D. And this exposes the various storage components as device objects, and they implement various functionalities like file systems and LVM partitions and jobs. All these are exposed as device objects through storage D. Yeah, how to make these all fit? So there are basically I divided this into two main steps. One, and this is how storage D deals with problems with respect to other storage components as well. So the first step is that I need to retrieve the state of Gluster FS, and I need to take that state, current state, and expose that state as reverse objects on the message bus, on the system bus. So storage D resides on the system bus; it's not on the session bus. Yeah. So I have to take this state and expose it as reverse objects on the system bus. And the second part, which is it's as tricky as the first part actually. It's that I need to figure out changes which are happening on the cluster end, and update storage D objects accordingly. So these are the two steps that and the second step also needs to be done without having to keep polling, because we want to do away with polling and somehow get these notifications from Gluster FS without much problems. So
one second. Though.
yeah.
The whole idea here is, I'm trying to understand because sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, sure.
the events that you're going after and the goals that you have seem to be going after enabling storage D events with Gluster, right?
Yeah.
But Gluster is distributed storage system. Storage D is for a single system.
Yeah. So
Do you go into more of that in the next slides, or because I don't want to jump?
yeah. So this so storage D is I mean the thing is that just like Gluster D runs on every node, storage D also needs to run on every node.
Sure.
And there has to be some message queues, something like what USM is thinking of.
Yeah.
They are working on a salt-based message queue that will be taking these device event notifications from these individual nodes, and they will transmit it over their own message queue. That is like a layer on top of these.
Okay, but this is my confusion. That sounds to me more of this project, not yourself. Does this project event system to be part of the whole club? Like, if OSM did not exist, and I want an event notification system about the cluster, right? And I want to plug in, this is what I'm looking for, this architecture, right? But I don't, what you're telling me, please tell me if I'm correct, is that, no, USM is going to do the cluster-wide event notification, and I really don't agree that that's the correct architecture.
No, I mean, I
But anyway, continue on, and then we'll continue after. I just want to let you know that for me, storage D is a single node thing.
yeah, it is a single.
Okay, and we'll continue on.
Because dbus essentially as a concept is
Sure, it's single node. I know, right? I agree with everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Probably, that's really cool. I want to see how these events, one, proliferate through Gluster FS itself, which we have not gone to. And then the second part is, how do they go away from the cluster? How can someone or something, service, get cluster-wide events, like voting created?
Right.
That's a cluster-wide event thing,
Right.
right? And anyway, that's what I'm, if we're not in a direction, this is, anyway, I'm just trying to say that this is what I'm looking for.
Right.
Basic mechanism. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I can relate to it because this is a question that many people have asked.
Okay.
So this is a concern that many people share. Yeah, so the first part is the retrieving of the cluster state. So this is done by parsing the XML output, like I was talking about yesterday. So we issue the CLI-based commands, and we parse the XML output from these commands, and get information regarding what volumes are currently there and their state, all the bricks inside the volumes, and yeah, all that. We use the systemd device API to track the state of the services like Gluster D, and for now only Gluster D provides systemd enabled service in Gluster FS. So for now only Gluster D.service can be tracked, and parsing information that can be obtained from the upcoming REST interface in Gluster D.
So one of the things you can see here is that if, for example, it would be great for Gluster D2 and your project to work together on being able to get notifications without using point, because REST interface is far long for you.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be on the debus already, then maybe it'll be great for Gluster D2 to also run the debus.
Yes, and provide some kind of debus interface.
Yeah, they could send the signals automatically, right?
Yeah.
So maybe to your API or something to get to the system debus, maybe your bridge. But it just seems like, are you planning to work with today's code without Gluster D 2.0, or do you require Gluster D 2.0 to work?
No. So there might be changes that need to be done in Gluster D itself. So I mean, if this kind of a debus interface has to be implemented inside Gluster D, then we need to make changes there. Right now there is no such interface, so I started off with parsing the CLI output.
Yeah.
But we have been talking about this. We need to think of something. And the second part is getting changes on the cluster end to storage-D, and then storage-D can update its own debus objects. So for this, I use the hook scripts inside Vadlib Gluster D hooks. So over here, there are different directories like create, then add break, remove break. All these directories, inside all these directories, you can add scripts that will be run after or before issuing of these commands. So
You may want to stop the notification there.
yeah.
In fact, close this main method. Doesn't make sense to presentation while the presentation are to have all.
Yeah, I know.
How do you close this? I don't, you know.
Alt tab.
Not now.
There you
How to close?
Yep.
Let's see.
go. There you go.
You're the KD guy, right?
Yeah.
F5.
Well, you do that. Just what I'm trying to say is that it just seems to be a timing thing. Like a lot of the stuff we're working on now seems to be trying to deal with the inability of Gluster D to review events. But if the timing is correct, where I don't know what the timing is for this project, but if you at least get some notification from Gluster D, or at least get the current Gluster D to at least put some signals on the debus, then that may help this project work towards where you want in the future.
The initial plan for this project is to get it landed in 3.8, not 4.0.
Oh,
So,
really?
yes, that was the initial plan.
Okay. So is that still the plan?
As far as I know, that is still the plan.
Okay. So, all right, because dealing with these scripts and stuff, it's only very temporary, and then you have to maintain that.
Yeah.
So, but at least if you hook something up into debus in Gluster D today,
Okay.
where it knows that it's making an event, you can just, your code will always just look for the events in now and the future.
Right.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts on this. I thought I just
Yeah,
reserve it for the end.
Okay.
Because I am familiar with this, I'm just waiting for others to get know what.
I'll just keep it talking.
Yeah, as it is not a very long presentation. Did I cover? No. So yeah, these hook scripts will be called before or after issuing of various commands like volume create. So I have one script that is inside the create directory. So what happens is that whenever volume create command is issued, then that script is run, and that issues that sends a debug message to storage D telling that you need to reload.
Yeah.
And then storage D reloads all the interfaces and objects and everything. And then if there are any changes during that reloading state, then the corresponding signals are sent out on the bus. So this can be used to track new brick addition or removal, volume creation or deletion, start, stop, and volume option changes using the set option, the Gluster volume set options. And the systemd debug API also again helps in helps to keep track of changes with respect to the Gluster debug service. So systemd debug API helps with both getting the Gluster D service state in the initial step and this step.
Any thought process on if when a brick goes down, how do you send an event?
Okay, so when a brick goes down, so I have thought of two ways to deal with this. The one way is that a brick basically when we say that a brick goes down, it basically means that the Gluster FSD process has stopped running, because Gluster FSD already has that intelligence implemented over there that when a brick goes down, it will stop. So one way in which storage D can track that is by tracking Gluster FSD. The other now the second part is that Gluster FSD tracks if the disk has gone down by repeated polling itself. So Gluster FSD is going to poll the underlying file system, and when it stops getting any response from the file system, that is when it will understand that there's some problem and it goes down. So the second part, the second way to deal with this brick failure problem would be to have storage directly have access to that disk failure kind of a scenario. So if storage D can somehow understand that there is this brick process that resides on this particular file system, and if it can get to know if that particular file system has failed, then Gluster FSD will not need to do that polling in the first place, and I don't have to depend on Gluster FSD to get that information. So those are the two.
The underlying file system failing on a disk need not necessarily be because the disk failed.
Yeah.
File system deadlocked for some reason.
Yeah.
That's what Gluster FSD by repeating
Polling.
certain operations in a delayed loop does.
Yeah.
So you still probably want to have that separate, I would say,
Mm.
from a functional perspective. But yeah, okay. But I understand where you're going.
Yeah, but my question was not at the file system level. My question was at the process level.
Okay.
What if that particular brick process dies due to any kind of reason?
Yes. So now, like for Gluster D, for example, it becomes very easy for me to track because it has a Gluster D service.
Right.
But there is no such corresponding dot service for Gluster FSD or Gluster SHD. For example, that also does not have any service. So it becomes that is something that I'm still thinking of. Again, yeah, to deal with that, the thing that I've thought of is if storage D starts these processes by itself, like when some application tells storage D that this is a volume, add a particular brick to the volume, or maybe just start a volume. Then storage D itself will spawn its own jobs and I mean, it can spawn the clustered FSD processes itself, and then keep track of that. So that is one way of doing it. But I'm not going to that right now because because that would also mean that storage D is going into creation of volumes, starting of volumes, and doing stuff that already other applications are doing. So yeah, so that is another way to look at it. This is one example that I have come up with for new volume creation notification. So this is the message that is a system bus. So there, storage D owns this org.storage D connection, and this on Gluster FS module startup in storage D. So in storage D, we have this system of having modules for different enhancements. Like there is a module for LVM, there is a module for SKC, there's a module for ButterFS. So this Gluster FS module will, when this Gluster FS module is enabled in storage D, then what storage D does is that it retrieves the Gluster FS state by parsing the XML output from Gluster volume info, all -XML. And it parses that, gets all the information, and exposes all those volumes as Divas objects under that particular path, or storage D Gluster FS volume start. So this is the first part. The second part is that, and the second part is like a new volume is created using the Gluster CLI. Okay, so what happens is that the hook script tells storage D that there has been some changes on the Gluster side, so you need to reload or reload your modules and your objects. So over here, it's this is the message that is sent to storage D. So over here you can see that Divas send hyperreference system. So this is the part that says that it is this message is being sent to the system bus and not the session bus, and that is the destination connection name. There is a method call, and we tell we tell that this is the method to be called, the reload method.
So
yeah,
when this happens, every storage D in a cluster is going to know that one volume got created. So that will mean if you have 10 nodes,
yeah,
and every single one of the system Ds got notified,
right,
and all those 10 nodes will then send an event to USM saying all of them got created.
No, the thing is that this will be. So the thing is that every node will have in the current state how it is. Every node has a varlib Gluster D, and then the hook scripts.
Okay.
So and every node will have those scripts. Now the thing is that when someone creates volume in one particular node, issues that command in one particular node, then in only that node that message will be sent. So only one node will be able to like send that event notification that a volume has been created
with that system D. So the other system Ds will not know that the volume was created.
So that will be sent out to the message bus that is on top of all the nodes, and then.
But that's your steps, not this project.
Yeah. No. The other parts won't be able to.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This project, what we're talking about
Yeah.
here is that the other nodes will not know that a volume was created.
Right.
That's what this project is supposed to be doing. Right? Like if I attach an app to one of the nodes, then what you're saying is that I need to run all my commands from that same node to make sure that I know all my events. Because there's no cluster-wide node.
Yeah. that's the limitation as of now.
That's the
So
But we can't live with this limitation.
you cannot go with this model,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
we can't.
You have to do what USM, you should take over that part, USM, and say,
Yeah.
no, this project is gonna do that, because this project is the one that's going to handle cluster-wide event notification, correct?
Yeah,
I'm not saying you do what USM is doing, they have their own solve method, because that's what Calamari is doing. You could come up with whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I still think that whatever architecture you pick is a cluster-wide notification model.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and right now, it does not do that.
Yeah. And the events, I'll just cover some of the events that we are looking to cover in the next few months. So the volume state changes, that is creation, deletion, stop of volume. And those are the various informations that need to be sent along with those diversities.
What about expansion?
We haven't, expansion meaning a new,
Upgrades.
all those will be covered. So this is the volume state changes like creation, deletion, start, stop.
I see.
Then there are volume option changes. So this can be again tracked because of the hook scripts, the volume set options.
Today we allow this change, name UID of volume.
No, which one?
Supply them as information.
Yeah, these are the parameters. These are the outputs which will go.
Yeah. So this will be part of the signal that will be going out. So volume quota change, limitations, related events. So as I said in the third or fourth slide, so when the volume quota is limit will be crossed, soft or hard, events need to be sent out, and when it comes back to normal, also events need to be sent out. And so we already get information regarding quota through that volume, Gluster volume quota volume list. So similar information needs to be sent out to the listening applications. This is with respect to brick addition to volume. So this can again be done through hook scripts because I can add scripts that say that a new brick has been added to a volume, and storage tree will reload its objects interfaces. Asynchronous task state changes, replacement or removal of a brick, and volume rebalance start. So whenever these events are started, these tasks are started, we need to send out events that this task has started. Also, we need to send out. There needs to be some kind of a method call that can be that will tell the listening applications regarding the status of the task. This is a process-related state changes, the Gluster leader service, Gluster SHD, and Gluster FSD also has to be included there. And quota, so whenever there are changes with respect to volume quota, similar events need to be sent out. So this is, I wanted to talk a little bit more on this process-related state changes because this is how I'm tracking the Gluster leader service. So I mean, this is the command line dbus send thingy, but I use the GDBus library to do all these method calls. So this, so the first step is that I get the object path for the Gluster D service. So that method call or free desktop system D1 manager get unit. That is a method call that says, give me the object path. that is corresponding to the cluster D service. And I pass the parameter cluster D service as a string to that method call, and it returns me the object path. And then I use this object path to query the different properties I want to, I'm interested in. So, for example, over here I specify that I use that object path or free desktop system D cluster D2E service, and I tell that I want to get the active state property for that particular service. So it returns the state active or reloading or the different states that are possible. Other than this, I can also be listening on signals that are provided by the systemd DBus API. So whenever I receive those signals, I can take corresponding actions on storage D side. Other process like Gluster FSD, Gluster SSD can similarly tracked by storage D if such services are available. Yeah, I mean, this is a very nascent project. I mean, just a few, I think a month it has been started. So everything has to be worked on, and we need to figure out a way to retrieve the cluster state in an easier manner. We need to figure out a way to get to understand if there are changes on the cluster FS front more easily through diversity on cluster D side or something. And yeah, and also the message, first thing that it has to extend over the cluster and not limited to nodes. So these are the things that needs to be worked on. And these are some of the URLs. Yeah, you said you had more questions, everything.
No, I just had a few ideas and questions.
Yeah.
So, like Louis was pointing out, right?
Yeah.
If what is this storage D based solution trying to achieve for the eventing needs? There are many needs for eventing in ClusterFS. Right? Some of them are homegrown. We understand and appreciate the fact that the management layer could offer, notifications for the stream of events that are happening to the file system, which can be as local as to a brick in a node, to a higher level event, which is a volume was reconfigured to have these options, or a portion of bricks belonging to this volume has gone down, and so on. And the other thing is for other higher level management software, for instance, this unified storage manager, which handles various kinds of these distributed file systems. So in our case, the need is always for cluster-wide information, but choosing dbus/systemd or storage D limits you to be only able to capture and relay information that is per node. You can form an external storage D cluster which kind of aligns with this cluster itself and relay these events. And then a higher level aggregator pulls all this information, makes sense out of it. So it depends whose problem are we solving. If you are solving such higher level management entries problems, then the way I see it is now you're trying to write agents for that higher level management entity, which will use information that you can get out of cluster on a per local. But cluster management layers benefits are not to generate these local events. Okay. Yeah, we could give you an entire cluster-wide information, and you can dice them as, okay, in this node this happened. In this whole event, I see that there are 3 bricks that are added to this, and one brick belongs to node 1, one belongs to node 2, and another belongs to node 3. Right. This whole event will be one event, and it won't appear as 3 different events. Yeah. But now by construction, you are choosing to make it as 3 different events. Like one being a cluster FSD.service will come up, and then that will be put on the dbus service bus, system bus in node 1, and then you should have another logic that will push that out.
That pushed it out, yeah.
So to what end? Why do we want to do it like that? So one very naive way you can think of is use the HCD cluster here. Whatever stream of events you want, you can make it, in like a publisher subscribe queue. Keep pushing them into the queue. People can pull, and you don't have to be even reliable in that. If you missed an event, you can probably now poll. If it's a stream of events that is there for every consumer to pick from.
Right.
But if you miss the event, you poll. And once you poll, you have current state, and from then on, you get. It's almost like.
So it's like email. Yeah. You were, there were 3 emails that came in, but you were the 10th one. You read the ones that came in from the last time you read.
Yeah.
Like timeout, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then now you got a central location now where you all your entire cluster goes into. Now you can look at the events by cluster. But that's it. Yeah, that works.
I have a
Yeah,
kind of
it will be
feeling like this project which got initiated, right? This is a kind of requirement which is coming for storage D to integrate cluster. It's not like to have all our eventings getting supported by storage D. That's the kind of feeling what I am having.
But what does it achieve by doing it?
Exactly.
Why does
I mean,
storage be needed?
Yeah. So
What do we need storage here? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. I mean, that's where I go back to what are the requirements for this project?
Yeah.
If the
So-
requirements of this project to be able to enable the system D, then I think you're in the right track, right? It's the requirements of the project to enable eventing across the Gluster Surface cluster, then I think you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right? So that is up to you to answer, is which direction you're going. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the thing with storage D is that storage D wants to handle all these cluster events. I mean, that is one part. I mean, it's not like storage D is not interested in solving the cluster event related problems. What it can also do is it can get involved in manipulating, like for example, the creation of a volume or addition of a break to a volume.
But there's a cluster.
That's right. Yeah. So so storage D basically wants to support all these different storage components like Gluster Ceph. I mean, all these are
Like I could see in SEC that OSD is down, right? OSD down or breakdown in storage D. That makes sense because that's per node, right? That should not happen cluster-wide. I mean, then after that, you can have the cluster-wide also. But if system wants to know that brick went down, then that's possible. But a volume creation, I don't think system D should be the one knowing. I mean, it could if you have a UI, like if you have a desktop that wants to know that you create a volume, and they want to show up the volume on the node.
Right.
And I understand why they want on dbus, but unless system D starts making a cluster-wide dbus or system notification, I don't see the pull.
So one doubt that I have is that what are the differences in the requirements of USL, for example, and the Gluster D storage management, for example.
So USM is supposed to handle
Ceph
and cluster
cluster.
size. So they're going to have to do what they can to be able to unify those the user interfaces, right? But one of the things that happened when I was talking to them, for example, when I faced with the group, they said they wanted to do intelligent management, and I explained to them that they, just from my point of view, is that they should concentrate on UI, making the UI as good as possible, and let services be able to do that. That's what Manila does, for example. The Manila service lets the drivers be able to be the ones that communicate and do the communication. So I think the USM should be a UI, right? And there should be services that are away from that UI that provide solutions, right? So for example, there could be a service that provides event solution for across the entire cluster. That's separate from the UI. Now the UI can use that and anything else can use that. But if it's part of the UI, then now it's defined that that whole project now depends on USM being deployed which now you have to deploy, all its dependencies. And I think that's a bit tough. It's just my opinion. So,
What, in the past, the previous version of USM, which was the over-based storage management control that we had, they wanted some set of events to know when a rig goes down, when a rig comes up, and what events are running, and so on and so forth, and all that. So there was an attempt to get logging infrastructure, and what was that other component called harvests the sensitive events.
VDSM, in cluster.
Outside of the video.
well,
Something like that.
they got a lot of great events.
Yeah, and all that.
Our system.
But just keep calling another name, so keep on.
So, the thing was, they'll write events and they'll capture this, and then when such a log happens, then you can report and maybe all these. So the point is, that didn't go anywhere, okay? And so what are we trying to do now? Why are we trying to do this kind of important problem? It's just cluster volume configuration and monitoring bricks and processes.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if it is going to go beyond that and say, hey, there's a split rate for a file or if there is
Exactly.
something else that's happening inside cluster, we want events for that, then we are trying to do. I don't know whether we want to do D-bus based events and stuff. Doesn't sound right for it. I want to look at something else. So depends on, what's the final use case, where are we getting towards, and
We anyway don't have a solution for those kind of events where, we per node events like, breaking down and whatnot. We really don't know that. There's no way to start a break when it went down. There's no watchdog there anyway. So yeah, that, as you said, that's where this solution fits in perfectly, but that's about the scope of it.
But even-
What it looks like.
Even when you know that information, what then?
I mean, our breaks go down for various reasons. Like that.
Sure.
You can
No.
start them up again.
Yeah, but what then? Who will do it? Who will do it?
Who's this? So Gluster is going to generate this, pull it on dbus, read it from dbus, and then start bricks. That doesn't make sense. You don't need dbus for it. And the system dependency.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's like, how's the workflow? Once the event gets generated, then it goes here, then it goes
Also-
there. How does it move?
Gluster FSD are like sponsor of Gluster itself, so it can be able to track if the Gluster FSD has talking.
Yeah, in fact, it doesn't have to do it in the system D style, like because it's the parent at some point in time. And in fact, because of daemonization, we don't no longer continue to be the parent of the cluster FSDs we forked off.
Yeah.
We do have other Unix domain sockets whose liveness indicates to us whether the process is up or down. We also have the .pid files which we can
Right.
sort of time to time check.
Yeah.
But it's best left to services that actually do this thing, like watchdog services, which actually tells you if a process is up or not and restart them. Have a default setting like restart them. Or try restarting 3 times, and if you fail all 3 times in an interval, don't, or something like that. Which is why I think Gluster is best left it as a problem that can be solved later, but definitely not with Gluster.
Yeah, there's also one thing I wanted to talk about. Way back when I first started, Jeff and I, he was giving me a demo of how Gluster works. And one of the things he talked about was events in GlusterFS itself, translators. So this talks about outside GlusterFS and once things happen, and once we know something. So how does the event, this is just another area that this project could move into, that's why the scoping of not just, I'm trying to get the generation of events all the way to outside the cluster, right? So we are right now at cluster D, right? But how does cluster D know? So I'm trying to go deeper, and how do the translators know that an event was created? So could it be, is this part of this project going to that translators and determine if an event happened on the translator, like something, I did something, or I state change, I wrote this, and that goes all the way up to the cluster? Could that also be part of this project?
I think, I guess it's possible when super bit out of scope.
Yeah. Right now, the state changes are up to cluster D, that's all the stuff. But if something happens that like you pause it, cancel write something, there's some state change down there, or some translator state change. have go up, and say, some event. Translators then hook themselves up to divas and then send it.
Oh, they could. All the translators are closed within the demon of some sort. So there could be a way for them to register with the closing demon of some sort of thing.
Yeah.
Good.
But it's just, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying just think about it. For ways
I mean,
for
the
translate developers to sense data.
so that event will be like sent to that enclosing daemon. The daemon which the translator is part of some daemon. So
I'm not digging into the how, I'm just digging into the could we
yeah.
enable translators to send events up, all the way up to something. I'm just thinking, I'm just asking a question. And the technology to be able to do that, it could be many ways. So I'm just saying, should as a translator developer, I be able to, notify state changes all the way up so that some service understands that this happened. Is that part of the project, or maybe something in the future? I don't know. I guess part of.
For me, another important question is storage D an incidental component into this eventing scheme, or is storage D the main character in this project? So are we doing something for storage D, or are we doing something which storage D we initially think could solve? So, or if it's not the case, we can replace it with something that we have.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is basically a feature enhancement of storage.
Okay. So does it make sense for storage D to actually abstract using the device model, a network-based file system? Do you ever see a chance of NFS being abstracted? And that would be the first step for storage D to move into the realm of network file system.
Yeah, we discussed about this, but that is not there in the present scheme of things. I can start working on that, but there is no one working on network.
No, I'm not saying we should first do NFS and then do cluster. What I'm saying is that will they ever do NFS, or they have never imagined NFS being part of it?
Yeah. I mean, when we spoke about this, it was apparent that they are open to supporting NFS in storage D.
Okay.
But the thing is that no one is currently working on that.
Why does storage D want?
This is, I mean, these are like different, just to support different,
Storage components.
yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest, we have more NFS users in the world than Gluster FS users. I'm surprised the way storage D is going through the set of storage components that they want to support. I mean, if I were storage D, I would have started with NFS, probably Samba. By the time I come to Gluster.
And those two are normally only single node. Yeah, so that makes more sense for system to do it.
Yeah. Because we try to have these protocols there so that we can make Gluster FS available to these, knowing very well that NFS and Samba is nowhere to go. It is going to continue to be there.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like just raw NFS.
No
cluster. That's normally single node.
If I'm not wrong, right, that the first discussion what we had probably a couple of months back or 3 months back, at that time what I understood, this particular requirement came from USM itself. Like we need to come up with all those events and all. So probably storage D itself would be a separate project altogether, but this requirement in terms of eventing would still be applicable, right? Is that the understanding?
That's what I'm trying to understand. If it's coming from USM,
Yeah.
fine, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Why they want to make sense, and other why we are doing it also makes sense. And then storage D just becomes like is one way to solve the problem.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
May not be the
Yeah,
way to solve the problem.
yeah.
Now, when USM wants it, we have what do we? Then we can think of different ways. That's why I'm trying to understand. So like because we have add storage D, I'm trying to move to one.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus if USM wants it, the current architecture they're going after, by them, I could see why they're saying, just plug in sysadmin will take care of that. It's a very short-term solution. And I think it's very bad. It works for USM, but it doesn't work for Gluster. So I think if in that model, we need to start conversation with USM and start have a conversation around, like Gluster has a cluster-wide event mechanism and have USM consume it, still USM now benefits from it and everybody else. And I think in that model, whatever you come up with, it's, that architecture will work better for everyone.
Yeah. So I think we need to think about it more.
Yeah.
And probably if
Also
we could have different alternatives to,
Also, the cockpit project consumes storage speed.
What?
Cockpit project.
I don't know that.
So it's a server management tool for Linux-based systems there, and they use that WebSocket architecture to translate the device messages to HTTP and then
Sure.
yeah.
But that's, again, single node, right? They go after nodes. It's not a cluster.
They take device messages from nodes.
No, that's for them. But I think for this project, we're looking at something. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Right.
I think we should definitely include USM into discussions so that we understand how is it that we can architect it together.
and another problem which Sham actually pointed out, that is a very much Linux specific solution.
So what?
It only works in Linux. So
Oh, yeah.
So we have BSD,
Yeah, this is
You can use something like a
currently
CRQ.
just Linux.
I'm not the, yeah, so you CRQ, you have publishers, and you have routers, and you have consumers, and you have consumers sits on a pipe, and then as many consumers as you want, they sit on the pipe with the event. So, I mean, that's another way of doing it, other than the NTD. And there's many ways. So, just definitely start conversation, that's all I'm saying. So. If I can make some more suggestions for I think there's a presentation in a couple of days that we're going to, like Cheyenne and others.
Yeah.
That in that presentation we say that we're going to do conversations. We're going to talk about cluster biometric. So that's the only thing.
all right.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
I have 0 viewers. Probably. Yes. I'm not expecting any more question. All right. Thank you, Samishan.